First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Fox 12 Now. Again, we are live streaming here out of the newsroom. We're here every weekday. We start at 1 o'clock. We go all the way through the afternoon. I'd just like to remind everybody of that, depending on when, where, and how you're watching us. Either way, thanks for doing so. Right now, we're going to be talking about the U.S. Forest Service and some changes that have been announced, including the closing of a Pacific Northwest office in Portland and the moving of the headquarters to Utah. We're going to get into this a little bit more and talk about what some of those potential ramifications are for these changes. Joining us, we have Lauren Anderson from Oregon Wild. And Lauren, thank you for being here. And just to start off, before we get into it, would you mind just letting everybody know a little bit about yourself and what Oregon Wild is, in case they don't know?
Yep. Thanks, Greg. My name is Lauren Anderson. I am the Climate Forest Program Manager with Oregon Wild. I work to protect Oregon's mature and old growth forests. We have a lot of them here in our state. Oregon Wild is a state-based conservation group. We've been around for 50 years now, and we work to defend Oregon's wildlife, waters, and all of our beautiful natural lands for future generations.
Lauren, thank you for joining us here to talk about this. So these changes that were announced from the U.S. Forest Service, would you mind also walking us through what those are and what some of those ramifications could be from your perspective there at Oregon Wild?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Greg. I can walk through some of the details, and I'm also happy to step back and do a sort of big picture overview of what this means for forests across the United States. So, as Greg mentioned, the Forest Service headquarters are being moved out of Washington, D.C. to Salt Lake City, Utah. They're shutting down all regional offices and moving to a state-based model. And what they're doing is they're consolidating all research facilities into one station in Fort Collins, Colorado. And what that means for Oregon specifically and Portland is that the Pacific Northwest regional office, which is all of Oregon, all of Washington, all of Alaska, is based in Portland, and that is hundreds of jobs. So is the Pacific Northwest Research Station. And this research station has decades of proven research that has shown impacts on forestry, wildlife conservation, waters. The people who work here are career scientists. They have long partnerships with Oregon's universities, Oregon State University, University of Oregon. So this is a really deep and important part of Oregon and Portland, and this is going to have a really big impact on our forests and our communities.
And to go into that a little bit more too about those impacts, I mean, that's a lot that you just mentioned. When it comes to, I guess, talking about the job side of things, you mentioned hundreds of jobs could be leaving because of this?
Yes, the exact numbers are unclear. So coming into the context of this, I think it's also important to note that when the Trump administration took office and Elon Musk instigated the DOGE staff cuts, Forest Service was hit incredibly hard. Almost 6,000 employees lost their job through the agency when that happened. So this is an agency that is already extremely hard hit and has already lost a ton of staff capacity. So at its peak, that research office and the regional office did employ hundreds, over 250 at one point, close to 500, I think, at another point, but the exact numbers are unclear. And we don't have a lot of clarity because not a lot of information is being shared with the public at this point.
When it comes to forest management, could you tell us, from your perspective, why it's important to have local authorities or regional authorities, as we have had, managing some of these forests and understanding, I guess, what it's like in their specific region?
Yeah, absolutely. So here in Oregon, we have 16 million acres of federal forest land. That's 25% of the state is covered by federal forests. And that's not just the Forest Service, that's Bureau of Land Management too. However, there are 11 national forests across the state in Oregon. So this is a huge area across our state. And it's really important entering into the context of what we're seeing right now. We are dealing with a climate crisis and a biodiversity crisis. We're seeing extreme impacts from wildfire across the state. And so now is the time that we should be absolutely investing in our public lands management agencies and ensuring that they have the staff and resources to address these huge growing threats, as opposed to going in and systematically dismantling them.
All right, and so these changes, as the government said, are starting to take effect. And I guess what would you say for people out there who, who do enjoy the wilderness of the Northwest, which is one of the great things of living up here? What should they know about this? And can you tell us, how they can find out more information about Oregon Wild as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you just take a step back. I think in addition to the destruction that we're seeing of federal agencies, it's important to also know that this administration is implementing other policies. One of the very first executive orders this administration implemented was mandating a 25% increase in timber production from national forests across the country. So their priority is logging and getting the cut out in these forests. And while no public lands agency is an absolutely perfect agency, the Forest Service is a 120-year-old institution that is standing in the way of those goals to maximize timber production, oil and gas production, mining across public lands. It's been very clear from every policy direction from this administration that those are their priorities. And the Forest Service as an institution has begun to shift in recent decades to care about things more like recreation, biodiversity conservation, clean drinking water, watershed restoration, all of these incredible values and resources that we enjoy as Oregonians on our public lands. And that institution is hindering the ability of this administration to implement its natural resource extractive policies. And so they're calling it a reorganization. That's not what it is. It is a systematic dismantling of this agency and ensuring that this agency is no longer in the way. And I also think it's really important for folks to realize that, these offices are based in Portland. There are numerous research stations across the state, longstanding experimental forests across Oregon, deep ties with our universities. These are our neighbors and our colleagues, and their jobs are on the line. So I absolutely encourage Oregonians from across the state to reach out to your senators and representatives and elevate this as a big threat to public lands in Oregon. We can't have public lands without our public lands management agencies. We need both. But beyond that, I would encourage you to also reach out to the governor's office, local legislators, and county commissioners. Everyone should be caring about public lands because they belong to everyone. And if you want to
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
if you want to learn more about this, I absolutely encourage you to go to Oregon Wild's website. We have numerous toolkits for reaching out and engaging with your local electeds.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us here on Fox 12 Now to talk about this and explain a little bit about that. And as you mentioned, you can check out more information on Oregon Wild. We appreciate you joining us here on Fox 12 Now.
Thanks, Greg.
And for everybody watching, again, we are live streaming here. As Lauren mentioned, the experimental forests and some of the partnerships with universities. We actually went down to one of those at Oregon State University and did a tour of that. So if you'd like to learn more about that, that's on the Fox 12 Oregon app under the Fox 12 Now tab. You can take a look and watch that as well. So we've got more coming up for you. We're going to take just a quick break. We'll be back here in a minute with more Fox 12 Now.